She's a third-generation textile weaver and is passing her craft down to a fourth and even fifth generation. Cathy Abercrombie takes us inside a weaving tradition built from the ground up right here in the Cherokee Nation.
The weavers of this tiny little community did a lot to be proud of. They have work all over the world. I feel like it's my responsibility to keep that history alive. I don't want any of these ladies forgotten, not just my granny and my Aunt Charlene, but all the weavers that were out here. I am Cathy Abercrombie. I live in Jay, Oklahoma. I'm a Cherokee Nation citizen, and I'm a third-generation Oak Hill loom weaver. This is hallowed ground for me. We are in the community building at Oak Hill at Piney. If you don't know where Piney is, it's a little bitty community outside of Jay, Oklahoma. It's really in the middle of nowhere. But there was a school next door, and then the weavers were in here. It housed 6 or 7 looms, and although my grandparents lived here, all the weavers from the community would come here and weave. They wove here for about 40 years. There was the Oak Hill Weavers Association. My granny eventually became president of it and ran it. Her name was Pearl Pauline Abercrombie. She was known for her diamond weave blankets, but they wove everything from rugs, placemats, hit and miss blankets, and wool blankets. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is the 4-harness loom that I weave on now, on Granny's loom. The looms that were used here at Oak Hill were made at the Sequoia Orphanage in the late 1930s. They got plans from the BIA, and the students actually made the looms. They were set up in all different weaving halls throughout this area in Oklahoma. My granny started weaving on these same looms. Then my Aunt Charlene and most of my aunts wove on them. They're about 80 years old now, and I'm still weaving on those same original looms. My Granny Pearl taught me how to weave when I was about 8 years old. She started me out on placemats, and it's kind of funny, everyone else started out on rag rugs. After placemats, my granny taught me how to weave acrylic rugs, and that's where I really started getting into colors and designs. That's where I could see my real love for it when I became a teenager. That's when I really got into designing and the color schemes. That's when I knew it would be something I would want to do forever. This is my granny's loom. This is the 4-harness. And this wasn't the only 4-harness loom at Oak Hill, but she was the only one that did the diamond weave. When Granny passed away and I inherited her looms, I realized that I didn't know how to weave the diamond weave. And I built a weaving hall, I got the looms set up, and one night I was going through paperwork, and in it I found in her steno book, she had written out all the instructions how to load and weave the diamond weave blanket. And so I've always carried that forward, and that's mainly what I do, is the diamond weave. So I made my first diamond weave blanket. I was up all night wet finishing it. The one thing different about a wool blanket than an acrylic is it takes a lot more time to weave them. Once they're woven and off the loom, they have to be soaked and fulled and steamed. When I entered it into the Cherokee Art Market that year, it was still damp because I'd literally finished it that night. And I won Best of Division. I like to do unusual color combinations that maybe aren't in style, but they're unique. If you look at most Cherokee Africans, they have what's called a break-in thread, and that's the thread that breaks two colors apart. My granny was known for putting a mint green thread, and it didn't matter what color of blanket you ordered. If you didn't specify it, Granny would put that mint green thread in there. When I asked her one time what that was, she said that's like when you have a very fancy dinner and you take a bite of lime green sherbet to cleanse your palate. And I thought that was so funny because I'm not sure Granny ever went to a fancy dinner to have that mint sherbet, but that was how she taught me color, and that's what always sticks in my mind now. So when I'm messing with different colors, I remember to have a breaking thread or a neutral green or something to cleanse the palette with your color. I didn't have daughters to pass this down to, but I do have 3 sons, and all 3 of them are accomplished weavers. They all either have won awards or have weaving in museums or collections. And now the 5th generation is coming up. My granddaughter will be 7 soon. My grandson is almost 5, and I'm getting ready to teach them. Not only will they be a 5th generation Cherokee weaver in our family, they'll be the 5th generation to weave on these exact same looms. Getting these looms set up again means everything to me. But more than anything, I got to see my grandkids weave on them. My granddaughter is 7, and she's my girl. When I saw her start weaving, it was like 2 minutes, and she was in the zone. She had her rhythm down, and I thought, I've got a weaver. I've got a weaver. And later I thought, I wonder if that's what my granny saw in me. They knew I would always be a weaver. They knew that I would pass this on. As much as I love to weave, I will always be a weaver, but my passion is the history behind it. My passion is being the link that carries it forward. I'm just the 3rd generation, and it's my job to keep it going. I sneak out to Oak Hill every once in a while just because it's home. I come out by myself and walk around. This is where I feel my family. This is where I feel my granny and grandpa, my aunts and uncles, and my daddy. This was the happiest place. My Granny Pearl's legacy was starting this. My Aunt Charlene's was carrying it on and passing it to me. I want my legacy to be known that I was the one that helped keep it alive, and my goal is to see that it goes 7 generations.